Hey, so this is actually a class for really very much for me, and for I know a lot of people watching the stream are going to be really interested in this class. A lot of people will be interested in the class. All we're doing today, it's actually a very simple class. This is an information gathering class. Basically, what I'd like to do is just give you all a survey and just to see what you think about this issue. But you know, that's not interesting. So we're just going to have a class about it. So there's no right answers, there's no wrong answers. You all are very much going to start the conversation, and then G has a microphone if you want to add to it or have a question or something. Not right away, not in the very beginning, but as we go along, and definitely people on the stream are going to have some comments and thoughts about it. So, but I want you to know, I don't have an opinion on it. I mean, I'm not having an opinion on it, and I purposefully have refrained from having an opinion on this because I want to hear from you all, okay? So the issue is, can we go to the first slide? So 22 students thus far at Penn State have had their visas revoked and have been sent home, okay? Because of they committed some kind of infraction. They broke the law in the United States. And here, just at Penn State, so there are a lot of students all over the world, all over the country, pardon me. But, you know, we're only looking here at Penn State. And so the first thing, when I say that, if one of you can start, like, what's the first thing where's your mind go when I say, hey, 22 Penn State students, international students, have had their visas revoked because they've committed a crime at some point in their time here in the U.S.? What kind of questions do you have? Where's your mind go? Anybody? It's just.
I mean, I guess you could ask what they do to get their visas revoked.
Okay. What do you imagine they might have done? Like, what's
I mean, hopefully they didn't kill anybody or something like that, right? But I guess like also looking at the news and main issues, I know there's been protests at other colleges as well as maybe here about different like political and global interactions of the U.S. and criticisms of that. And some people might not feel too strongly about that, which are like leaders with people with power, and then they might act upon that.
Okay.
And that could be it.
Okay. How about somebody else? Where's your mind? What's the first thought you have? Oh, wait. You know what? We didn't introduce you. Bro, can you go back and introduce yourself?
My name's Zach. I'm a first year aerospace engineer. That's it. It's Thursday. Good day.
Hi, my name is Rose. I'm a senior studying psychology, and it is, in fact, Thursday.
My name's Tommy. I'm a sophomore from Pittsburgh, and I'm studying finance and real estate.
My name's Natalie, and I'm a sophomore, and I'm studying human resources.
Okay, awesome. All right, Rose, you were going to say, what comes to mind when you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, like, right off the bat, I think, oh, that's, like, upsetting, like, to think that somebody has been, like, sent away from something that they were doing. Of course, like you said, like, there's a crime involved, so I don't know, like, the severity of the crimes. I do know that, like, there's some different restrictions that international students have. I know, like, in terms of, like, getting jobs or something, like, I think at Penn State they can get a job through Penn State, but they can't, like, get, like, other employment because they're just on a student visa. So, like, not knowing like what kind of thing that was broken, it's hard to like feel anything about it. But there is like just right off the bat, even if it was something worse. I mean, not like killing obviously is like different, but even if it was a more general crime, if you will, like there's still something like, oh no, like, and now they're done, they're gone. Like, there's something upsetting about that, I think.
That it feels unsettling to you as a student, like one of your fellow students. Yeah. How about Tommy or Natalie? Does anything come to mind?
I think it could be scary for the students who had those visas that they were revoked.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine. You know, it's got to be really unsettling to get an email or a phone call saying like, hey, pack your things and leave, you know?
I think it's interesting. It's not a bigger story than it is like in the news. Like no one's really heard about it. Like locally, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of students around the U.S., right? Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bigger story. Have any of you heard this? Did you know that people were being sent home? You knew? You heard about it? You got...
Not from Penn State, no.
Yeah? You didn't? Yeah? Okay. Go to the next slide. Okay, so here. These are the 22 students. This is what they did. One's a small amount of marijuana. One's a DUI, or two are DUIs, first offenses. And you know, I don't know what their blood alcohol count was. I mean, it could have been like way over the limit, or it could have been just tiny bit over the limit. But either way, and then retail theft, so shoplifting. And these, I'm going to assume the shoplifting was not a felony offense. It was under $150. I'm going to make that assumption, because and none had any prior criminal records. Okay, so now let's go. What comes to mind? Natalie, how about you? Now that you see that, what do you think? What kind of questions do you have, or
Why they took such an extreme measure as revoking their visa?
so that seems extreme?
Yes.
What seems extreme about it? What is
There's so many
hold the mic
oh.
really close.
There's so many U.S. citizens that already commit those crimes or even worse, and they're not facing the same consequences as these students were.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, they're not sent home. I mean, obviously, but it just seems really extreme, because they don't seem like serious offenses. Is that right?
Well, the DUI does seem serious.
Yeah, it could mean a lot of different things. Someone else, what do you think when you see these? Yeah.
Wait, I said a quick question. Like, are they being like sent home, and then like, are they continuing classes online? Are they like expelled from the university? Like,
they're not expelled from the university at this point. No, just sent home. So if there's a way they can continue to study online, then they can continue to study online. But I don't know about getting a degree here, because you still gotta come back. I mean, at some point in time, you know, unless you can figure a way out to get an online degree from Penn State.
but you'd have to like reapply to Penn State.
Keep going.
Sorry, you'd have to reapply to Penn State.
That I don't know. I
Okay.
think it's all too new. It just happened
Okay.
really fast.
Yeah.
For context, from what I know, there are people who have been banned for 5 years. So until those 5 years, you can't come back. Or for example, there was a lot of students from what I know who got deported are doing World Campus
Yeah.
as a result. But you know, it's not the same amount of credits as the kind of the kind you would get in the UP.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to necessarily get the same degree. Like, we don't have a real estate. Who's real estate? You real estate? I don't think we have that in global programs. Okay, so go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I think like there's definitely a little bit of like kind of like an incongruency or like an inconsistency, because like if a American student gets a DUI, like they're not going to be sent away, and even if they were sent away, it's going to be like not
Like-
as far.
Like, kicked out of school.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so here, let me get this. It feels to you like it's just such an extreme thing, like to revoke a visa and say you're being kicked out of the country.
Yeah, it seems extreme, because it's if I didn't know anything else about the U.S. and I was like, oh, the U.S. sometimes kicks international students out because of DUIs, it would make it seem like America has this very extreme attitude toward alcohol, like across the board.
Yeah, or retail theft. The shoplifting could have been a Snickers. Dude, it could have been that T-shirt. Or it could have been, I don't know, the microphone. You know what I mean? So it's, okay. How about you? Like, what comes to mind when you see that?
I mean, the first part that came to mind for me was, since it's so I don't say over the top, because like you shouldn't drive while drunk. But like, imagine I walk into a store, I want a Monster, but I forgot my like card at home, and I just like steal it, right? I don't think I'd get expelled for it. So that makes me think that when people get a student visa, that like, I don't know about this, but like, is there like a set of rules that they must follow? Like, oh, if commit crime, you will get sent home. or something like that,
Not,
right?
no, not from Penn State at all. No. No, it takes a lot to get expelled from Penn State, but definitely not stealing a Monster drink or that T-shirt or a Snickers bar.
That makes me ask, like, why is it like at a different, or like taken into a different consideration for an international
Well,
student?
the current administration has decided that, hey, these are crimes. I mean, all sorts of crimes. I mean, you could say moral turpitude or something, but these are just things. These are rules. These are crimes. If you break them, we've now decided we're going to send you home. You're a guest here of this country. You're a guest. You're a guest of Penn State. You're a guest of the United States of America. And we who are now running the United States of America have decided that if you commit these infractions, there's going to be consequences. So, it wasn't stated ahead of time. Some of these may have happened, before the election, actually. But, it's like, well, if, that's it. So that's a question that comes to mind. What else? What else comes to mind when you see that? Do any of you feel like, hey, these are all really serious offenses? And like, who thinks that? Like, these are really serious offenses, man. Like, you're showing us that if you commit these crimes, whatever, we've all decided there are certain lists of crimes, and if you commit these crimes, they're gonna be consequences, and that's kind of what it is. There are consequences, Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think, okay, especially like in the DUI, like I think that is a serious offense because it's putting a lot of people's lives at stake, but I don't think like the punishment is like an appropriate remedy for the offense.
For you, it doesn't feel like the punishment of getting sent out of the country is
It doesn't
an
do
appropriate
anything for
remedy.
anybody, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Tommy.
For the marijuana and the retail theft, I don't think that should be that serious of an offense. But like you said, for the DUI, if you don't know like how serious, like seriously they were drunk or whatever, like if it's bad, then maybe that's acceptable. But if it's not, like if there's barely over the legal limit, maybe not. But like you said, if it's really bad, then maybe. But if not, no.
It doesn't seem. Hey, just out of curiosity, how many of you? I'm going to ask the marijuana question. How many of you could at some point this semester could have been arrested for having in your possession a small amount of marijuana? You're not going to get arrested. International students don't raise your hands, but yeah. All right. Not that many people. Okay. Well, let's go. How about the fact that none had prior criminal records? Natalie, does that impact it for you at all?
I think it does.
Yeah, how so?
Because they had not committed any prior crimes.
Uh-huh.
I think that the punishment was too harsh.
It feels
yes.
too harsh for you. Uh-huh. Okay, how about this? Let's go to the next slide. So here, let me walk you through. So we have these diversion. Has anyone been part of a diversion program? Here, you commit a crime and you're part of the diversion program. Who has? Because some of you have. You got when you have underages or something. Nobody? You don't want to? Well, here. Let me explain it. So you don't plead guilty. So everyone is part of a diversion program here in Pennsylvania and in Center County. Okay, dude. You are? Well,
yeah, not at Penn State, but
when you were a minor?
Yeah.
Yeah, which
So when I was 14, I got sent to a wilderness therapy rehabilitation program in Colorado for 3 months, and then I did 15 months of residential treatment in Salt Lake City.
Oh, damn, dude.
So it was kind of insane. Yeah.
So you were living on the edge.
I guess, yeah, I was doing a lot of drugs when I was 14.
Yeah. All right, but now you're back in the fold.
Yeah, I'm a productive member of society now.
Dude, we rehabilitated you.
Exactly, yeah.
Congratulations, man. So listen, none of these 22 students pleaded guilty or not guilty, okay? There's nothing at all. It's basically, they're not convicted of a crime. They're charged with a crime, but not convicted of a crime. So it's almost like, the crime, let's say you commit a crime, you shoplift something, I don't know, a 6-pack of beer, right? And the crime just sits there. It's attached to you, but it's almost like we remove it from you. Okay? So it's sitting over here. We're not going to ask you to plead guilty or not guilty. We're not going to convict you. And if you complete a rehabilitation program of some sort, then we're going to completely, we will withdraw the charges. Okay? So all the charges get withdrawn completely. So you're not guilty. None of these folks are guilty or not guilty, charged with a crime, or convicted of a crime, if they go successfully complete the program, bro, like you did in Colorado and then Salt Lake City, then the charges get withdrawn, okay? And often, and in this particular case, since there's the first charges for these folks, and in all likelihood, the charges will be withdrawn or expunged from their record, meaning that later in life, I can do a background search. Like if the charges are withdrawn from your record, bro, I can do a background search and I will never see them, like ever. They'll not show up. So you never have to admit to the fact that you were arrested, anything. There's nothing. They're gone. They completely wiped off your record, okay? So rehabilitation is going to be like you pay a fine or you pay court costs or you do community service. Like some of you, one of the things that, this Shavers Creek who was here earlier in the semester, and some of you did the Shavers Creek program where you're working with young kids, and you get 75 hours of community service. So if you had a DUI or an underage, not a DUI, but an underage, then you could use those 75 hours against that community service, right? So maybe like anger management, maybe drug or alcohol counseling, maybe something, drug testing for a short period of time. But all of the people are in these diversion programs, okay? Now what do you think about that, bro? So if, for example, there are other people who did the same thing they did a year ago, but they completed the diversion program, the charges were expunged from their records. So when people were looking for students who committed crimes, their names never, other international students, their names never came up because the charges were expunged from the record. Okay? So these folks just happened to be still in the system and didn't. So how about now? What do you think?
I'd say that, these programs definitely sound optimal, in my opinion, because, again, let's say you just shoplift, a bag of chips. You don't want to get, expelled, sent to, your future, almost ruined in some circumstances. So being able to remediate that problem, I think, would be very helpful. If you're driving drunk, you kill somebody. I don't know about that one, but with, retail theft.
Well, we'll set that aside because there are a lot of violent. It's pretty common for people to lose their visas and be deported for violent crimes. But that's not what these 22 students. That's not what we're talking about. Okay. So how about someone else? What are you thinking? And really, and I'm just curious. I'm curious, what do you think? Because you might say, no, these are all really serious crimes. It doesn't matter if you're in a diversion program. It's irrelevant, man. You gotta pay the price. Natalie, how about you?
I think that they should be given another shot at coming back.
You feel like people should get another shot. If you okay, so, all right. To show themselves that they,
How do you get into these programs? Is it provided for you after the fact, or
after the fact. Yeah, so you get caught getting a Monster drink, and then you go down and you talk to the DA, and the DA says, "Hey, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you in this diversion program." So we're not charging you with a crime. You don't have to plead and nothing, but you have to, if you go through these steps, then, we will withdraw all the charges, and we can apply to have it expunged from your record. Yeah.
It kind of feels like since say they're an immigrant from another country, if they commit a crime, no matter the like what type of crime it is, this to me seems like our way of kind of saying, are you willing to put in some sort of work to rehabilitate yourself from these crimes to stay in our country? Like if you don't, just go back home. Okay, they weren't meant to treat. They aren't trying to treat our country properly.
So for you, it feels like, hey, if you're in the program, if you're doing one of these diversion programs, then you successfully complete it, then you're going to demonstrate that, hey, you want to really make amends and make right what went wrong, and okay, that would be enough for you.
For these crimes, yeah, absolutely. I don't know the exact crime and penalty of what they did, but from what it seems too much in the first place. But
well, it wasn't like the retail theft wasn't like grand theft auto kind of thing. We can assume that. All right. How about Rose? How about you?
I think there's something about it. Almost feels like somebody was lied to, because to say that, oh, you can join this program, it means okay, there is a possibility to get your record expunged, right? But then these students are in the program, and then it was like, actually, we're sending you back. It's like, oh, if you were going to do that, you should have just not let them in the program to begin with.
Well, we didn't know. They didn't know that, though.
Okay.
This just happened a few days ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then my thoughts about this program in general?
No, your thoughts about now that you know that these 22 people were in this program, and they were going to probably have their records expunged completely so that nobody would ever even know that they shoplifted or had a marijuana charge or something.
I mean, it feels like such a big change. Like they're already in this process, however they did the crime, whether they intended to do it, whether they were just really having a bad day or something, set that aside, they did it. But they were like, okay, I want to make an effort to change this. Like everybody else who's in that program, right? We're assuming that everyone else in the program has committed similar crimes. But then that chance is kind of pulled out from under them.
Yeah, okay. All right. How about does somebody else? Someone want to weigh in on this? G has a microphone. Someone have a couple questions? Couple thoughts? Bro. I mean, it's a really interesting question, right? For me, it's really quite a conundrum.
Yeah, I think it's what I haven't heard many people talk about on the panel, perhaps, is just how easy it is to not steal stuff and you get to come to our country and break our laws, and then you just get to stay here. It's not like a human right has been violated that they get sent back to where they came from. It's a privilege to be allowed in the United States. It's not like you're a U.S. citizen and we just sent you off into the ether to evaporate into mist. It's like you go back to your home. You go back to
your family.
Yeah, your family. Yeah. It's like there are worse fates to befall a man than going home because you steal from our stores. Okay, bye.
All right. Okay. All right. Dude, how about that? Do you have a response to that? Dude, that's a good... Yeah, thanks for saying that.
I know what he means, and obviously it can come down to, don't commit a crime, but, for example, not for example, but, I feel like a lot of us are just, stupid college students, right? We might not be, thinking straight, or we might be, drunk, I'm not personally, but let's say you're not, in the right mindset. You could just, accidentally commit a crime because, you're not thinking right, and then... why should that, let's say you're a 4.0 student, amazing, involved in the community, and then you do one thing that you didn't intend to do, then why should that affect your entire career? I understand that you're not trying to come to this country to commit a crime. I don't think anybody's intending to do that. It's just I personally don't think that should dictate a decision this drastic.
This drastic. So he's saying, bro, he's saying, listen, man, it's actually pretty easy. Well, actually, the other day, I almost shoplifted, okay? because I really almost shoplifted. I was like, oh shit, like that'll be really cool. Penn State professor caught shoplifting. I was at the giant grocery store, and I did this thing where I like have to this little thing where you tag your own groceries. You know, it's a little looks like a little gun thing, and I thought I got 2 things of coffee, and I thought I tagged them both. I assumed I did, and I didn't. And I went to the checkout, and I checked out, and at the last minute, I felt like, hang on, that price doesn't seem right. And then I looked at the tag, and I thought, oh man, I didn't do the 1 coffee. And had I left there and walked out, had it been a moment when they checked, because sometimes they check, because I got checked before, because I guess I look a certain way, and had they checked me, I'd have been like, oh damn, that's shoplifting, right? So there is that possibility. It's easy to not shoplift, but it's not easy to remember to use that little thing with everything you pick up, right? So, but the point is, it's pretty easy. Dude, just don't shoplift, man. Don't, you can't have weed. Don't have weed. And if you're driving, don't drink and drive at all. Like, come on, man. You know, for a while in El Salvador, drinking and driving was punishable by death. It's not anymore, but it's serious. So so what do you think about that? Like what he's saying, it's like, dude, it's a privilege to be here. Just act like it.
Of course, it's like higher education at the end of the day is a privilege. It's just from my point of view, although you could again, it's just don't shoplift, but it's just like no one's coming to this country to commit crimes. Probably not, right?
Well, some people are.
Okay, some people, yeah, but I don't think the students are coming here to go to class and stuff just so they can lose all that for committing a crime. I would think rather that they're here to succeed in life, you know?
Yeah, but you said it yourself. People, your college students, and I can attest, what you said is sometimes we make really dumb decisions. By the way, Julie and I can both attest to that some of you make really dumb decisions, all right? And so all it takes is 1 dumb decision. It's you can't go back on it and say oh, I'm sorry. Think about Irvin here. You can't just go back and say, shit, I didn't mean that. Now you shouldn't come after me. I'm sorry. So
I understand that. However, I don't think, again, you gotta think about the crimes at hand, right? I mean, if they shoplift $200 worth of stuff, that's a problem, which I guess you could go case by case to see what they exactly stole. Or again, a small amount of weed, maybe again, they were drunk and they were holding it for somebody else. They weren't using it themselves. It's just, I don't think that a small infraction such as this should dictate that big of a thing. Of course, there's a committee on more major crime, whatever that may be.
All right.
Of course.
Do one of you have a response to his?
I don't necessarily disagree, but at the same time, petty theft, I don't think means you should be deported from our country.
Yeah. Petty theft. Okay. Dude, petty theft. A Snickers bar. Can you wait, does someone else have the mic? Can I have the microphone again? Bro, I'm going to ask you a question, all right? Dude, right there. Thanks, man. What if it was a Snickers bar, bro? And they're just yeah, Snickers bar. Just out of curiosity.
I mean, did they go into the store and deliberately take something that wasn't theirs in a country that isn't theirs? It's not a human right to be here.
Okay, no,
it's the right of the U.S. citizenry.
No, what you're doing is what you are doing is you're reframing this to say, look, it's not how much you took, it's not how many times you did. It's the fact is, it's not yours. You can't do it. You came here. You should be. When you're a guest in someone else's country, you should follow the rules of the country. And if you don't follow the rules of the country, there's going to be consequences. So shoplifting is a crime. So it doesn't matter whether you did it 10 times or 1 time or a box of Snickers bar or 1 Snickers bar. The point is you committed this crime. It's like, yeah, that says something about your character. And there's a lot of people that want to come to the United States. So, okay. All right. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, just like if I went to Saudi Arabia, I would respect their culture and their laws. Like, if you come here, don't steal from our stores.
All right. Do we have somebody else? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got
Okay.
you, Matt.
So my question is that do you think that people who are on visas should be quote unquote like more scared or just more like just aware of committing crimes than a person who is born in the United States?
Yeah. Do you think people who are guests of the United States, who are here on a visa, right? Do you think that they really need to be more aware, right? You really should be more aware. You got to be more aware than people who are born here, who are not here on visas, as an example, right? Is that, yeah. How about that? It's like you're walking, if you're a guest here, you're walking on, you better be aware of what's going on. How about that?
I mean, I'm sorry, but I think that, like, yeah, because from my point of view, you're another Penn State student here, but you're also, like, not an American citizen.
You're a guest
right?
of the United States.
Even though you're here to learn, like, in the eye of the law, you might not be seen that way.
Okay.
And then you might be punished differently.
Okay.
I mean, clearly with this, but
Yeah. Okay.
now should it be that way? I don't know. But
Okay.
I think I'm looking at it through like a view of like an American going to another country. Cause
Yep.
I just saw something yesterday that this social media influencer is facing like 25 years in jail in South Korea for, I don't know exactly what he did, but it was something
No,
like a
he's
statue.
an idiot, though.
Yeah, but I'm
He
just
did
saying.
some really
yeah, exactly.
annoying stuff.
But
Okay.
if like
He's
an
probably
American,
not going to get 25 years,
yeah.
but go ahead.
And if an American goes to another country, I think we should be aware of their laws more because sometimes they're like the penalty and like the judicial system is different in every country. So if you're not aware, then you could definitely have a bigger target on your back. And
Okay.
a lot of people are looking at you differently if you're not from like if you're from a different country.
Yeah,
I feel like
okay.
that's for everywhere. Not just
Also,
America.
by the way, another thing is, my guess is that, and this goes to what he said, my guess is that the students who are applying to come to the United States starting next August, they're reading the news, man, and they're all saying to themselves, oh shit, okay, I can't be doing any of that stupid stuff, man. I really got to be on the up and up. So like they're going to learn from these folks, and they're not going to do certain things, you know. But here's the thing that like, okay, that wasn't the case. If I can shoplift, if I get shoplifting, if I get caught, okay, I'm going to have to deal with the consequences. But I'll never get sent home. But okay, but in the future, it's like, yeah. So here's my question: is that a good thing? The folks are now who are planning to come here are going, oh, all right, I'm going to be on my best behavior because these are the consequences.
I mean, I think that if there is this rule, like, it's good to be on guard if you're the person who the rule is affecting. So in that sense, yeah, I think it's good. Can I just say one thing, like, from before, though, as well?
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that these folks didn't know, but for him, he doesn't matter because they still broke the law.
Yeah, I think on that point, like, I think, yeah, it's pretty easy not to shoplift, right? I don't know what they shoplift. Maybe some of them were actually genuinely shoplifting because they didn't have money to get stuff, but let's assume that's not for most of the cases. That being said, though, again, I don't think that deporting solves any problem that caused the shoplifting. And, like, I think saying that it's kind of, like, their guest status makes the crime worse. So I think even to say that if you shoplift as a international student versus as a United States student, maybe the punishment could be like worse, but like deporting seems like much
It just
worse.
seems like a lot to you.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, it could be that they are going back to their family, and it could be that they're going back and they can get education somewhere else, but it could also not be, which it's not the job of the store or whoever they stole from to worry about all that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
like-
it is a job of the person who's deporting them.
or it's the job of the person who shoplifted or whatever. But yeah, okay. Hang on. What about if it's a crime? So someone on the stream, Mango, is saying, yeah, but some crimes are crimes out of necessity. They're not just opportunistic. I mean, let's not assume it's not a Snickers bar. Maybe it's an international student who's really on the out, like they don't have money for food or whatever. I don't know. What about that? Actually, you wouldn't care. It wouldn't matter to you, though, right? Would that matter? No, because they're always going to be. You go to the food bank. You always go mango. There's always a place you can get food. Yeah, go ahead. Do you have a comment? Hang on, we have one on this from the stream. And then, do you have another? Someone have the microphone? Yeah. Okay, give the mic to the next person. All right. Who's the next comment?
Hi, right here.
All right. Bro, go ahead, bro.
My question was...
Izzy, can you just blacken the screen for a second? All right.
My question was, who's paying for the diversion programs? Is that funded by the university or those government
No,
funded?
that's a Center County and then the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
And they mostly pay for themselves, for example. So, for example, it always involves paying a fine. Almost always involves paying a fine or court costs and that kind of thing. So,
I guess my question was just going to be, do they have to do the rehabilitation here, or if they're able to do rehabilitation in their whatever country it is that they're from?
No, it would have to be here. Yeah. You got to do it here. I mean, could you go back home and do the diversion program and then come back? Like, okay, I completed it.
Yeah, supposedly, yeah.
No, because mostly you're going to have people who are sort of watching them as they're going through this, like parole, probation, that kind of thing, but somebody who's part of that. Yeah. All right, Izzy, put that. And then the next person right away. Why does it take so long to get it up?
It just takes a bit.
All right. There are many reasons why people commit crimes. We've seen many crimes. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah, okay, this is the mango from Korea. Yeah, it seems to be, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. But maybe, again, mango from Korea, like that, it doesn't matter, That's not the issue here. Okay, next one. Who's the next one?
It's me.
Go ahead, man.
I just kind of wanted to circulate back to something that was being talked about before and play devil's advocate a little bit. So growing up and when I started traveling by myself, like the first thing my parents told me is like, don't break the law in a foreign country, right? Because you don't know how the laws operate over there, and you're visiting and you have to respect that culture. And I mean, you can get in a really horrible situation by breaking the law in a foreign country.
In some places, for sure, man.
Yeah, so circulating back to what was being talked about South Korea, and I know a lot of countries, like, if you break the laws of foreigner, there are very strict countries where you could face really, really serious consequences. So I wanted to ask, do you think maybe like these students, maybe not the marijuana crime, because I don't know if I'm wrong, but I thought marijuana possession was decriminalized here in Pennsylvania.
No, hey, hang on. Penn State students, marijuana is not decriminalized in the state of Pennsylvania, my friends, okay?
Also, in terms of the usage of marijuana, it takes the consideration of your residential law instead of American law. So if you're an international student that lives in a country that the marijuana are banned, you should not be smoking here.
Yeah, that's a really bad thing. Anyway, but go ahead. So
yeah, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that, so
Okay.
I was just asking. But maybe don't you think, just for example, for a serious crime like a DUI where you could have effectively killed someone, and I mean shoplifting. I agree, shoplifting you shouldn't be shoplifting. Like, you're taking property that's not yours without paying it. So I just wanted to ask, do you think maybe like just these students getting sent back to their homes, do you think they maybe just got off easy?
Yeah, in a way.
Compared to
right? In a way, Yeah, what do you think about that? You could argue that they kind of got off easy.
Yeah, like instead of
Get really being charged with
Yeah.
serious crimes, yeah. Because, you know, we have a certain leniency here, right? I mean, shoplifting is a crime. It's punishable by X. But you're not. We have this thing. It's your first time. It's all right. Like, okay, we'll do this diversion program. It's all good. And don't do it again. And if if you do it a second time, then it's like, well, it's going to be a little harder. But like, okay, don't do it a third time. You know what I mean? And so there's a way in which we're a little bit lenient. But like, in a way, people, you could argue they kind of got off easy. Could you argue that?
I mean, I think that you could definitely see it like that, especially like you're saying, like if they are going back to like a family and they have all this like community and stuff, like when they go back home, definitely it could be seen, because assuming like if they're going back home, that means they're not paying any fines, they're not serving any community service. Like if they served only a part-time in the diversion program and then they go back home to whatever, like assuming there's like things at home to support them, help them get into new school or whatever, like even a place for them to live, like assuming all those things, yeah, you could be like,
but you go
that
back,
was more lenient.
wait, hang on, who's an international student? Bro, you are? If you get sent back home, you get caught shoplifting, right? Let's say it's you. Where are you from?
I'm from India.
From India?
Yeah.
Okay, you get caught shoplifting, you get sent back home in India.
Yeah.
Just think about just you.
Yeah.
What do your parents say? What's your family say? What's the community say?
My parents are kind of strict, so like my father always tell me like not to like even carry someone else's stuff. Just so like it's as a precaution, and like for obvious reasons, like if you compare, my father spent a lot of money. Like to be honest, like 300-400 grand just so I can like study here, more than any other in-state student is actually paying. So I guess like, yeah, for obvious reasons, my community will be like type of asking me questions every single day. That's
so
why
your
I
whole
did
community.
that.
First
Yeah.
off, they lose all the money.
Yeah.
From
Like
if
every
you
single
can't
penny.
finish your classes this semester, so they lose that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And being like I will be a senior student like next semester, so I guess like it's a huge amount, like literally more than half of my college tuition.
Yeah. So for you then, so you can imagine it's very similar for most of these students.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, so listen, man, it's a huge thing. This isn't like, hang on. Can you just, dude, can you just give it back to him? Yeah. I'm not, bro, you just held this, I'm going to give you the mic again because you held this really hard. So listen,
Can I add something?
Yeah, hang on, what's your name again?
It's Parth.
Oh, yep. Okay, so listen, it's a huge, just the fact that people get sent back home in shame, right? The financial cost, the one thing after another, boom, it's huge. So like, I want you to just think about that, and then now, and I'm not trying to change your mind or anything. I'm just want to know, like, what do you think when you hold that?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I zoned out for like 30 seconds there.
Okay. So for me, like he asked me that will it be like okay for my father or like my parents or for my community that I like got deported from US and
for stealing something.
Yeah, for like stealing something or shoplifting, and I think it will be like a bigger thing for my parents because I am like gonna be a senior student next semester, and it's like more than half of my college tuition, which has already like been paid, and I guess like international students pay like triple the amount of in-state tuitions here.
So it's just, it's really expensive. It's shameful. It's just, man, this isn't just, so I just want to go to you, and I just want to see what you say to this. This isn't just like, hey, you broke the laws, you go home. This is like, oh, damn, man, you go home. It's really serious.
Yeah, I think as an international student, it would be like extremely important to understand the consequences of even seemingly small crimes, so that you basically like understand the gravity of the situation you're in. You just tread lightly, because I mean, it is it seems to me that it is highly overrepresented the percentage of crimes in this context that are committed out of necessity. It's like you're an international student. Oftentimes, like your parents are doing all right.
If your parents can spend the money on tuition that international students' parents are spending, you don't need to steal a Snickers bar, man.
Yeah. Like, dude, every time I see like a hypercar in State College, like it's never like some just like white guy. It's like, just don't steal stuff. It's like very rarely the case that you have to steal stuff. Just stop it, please.
Okay, that's fair.
Can I actually add something towards that?
Yeah.
So for me, like, to be honest, I was discussing it with my friends. They are also international students here, and they were like, it's better for me to like do service hours or like get in jail for 24 hours and then come outside and like complete my degree rather than just get deported from the US. And it's kind of like to be honest, a controversial decision, but they were like, it's better for me in that way because my parents spent a lot of money. And also, I think you showed 22 people who got deported, and one was like my friend, like two were my friend, and one was like got deported because of shoplifting, and she did it intentionally. I will say that because she did it twice or thrice, and that was a good thing that she got deported, to be honest. Yeah, and yeah, hey, so yeah, you got deported. Yeah.
Wait, she did it. She shoplifted twice.
She shoplifted twice, and not even like a small amount of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. And on the second pair, like,
wait,
if I talk about
hang on a second. Hang on, dude. You ready? So someone shoplifts, not once, but twice. Feels good about it. It's like, yeah, I got away. I got whatever this thing is. I got this shirt or whatever, and they don't care. They're not even feeling ashamed about it. Now, what do you think?
I think going into another country, you should be regardless of the consequences.
Yeah.
You should be cautious about what you do. So the fact that she did that without any second.
Once she did it, not once, but twice.
Twice.
And didn't feel really even bad about it.
Really makes a difference.
That makes a difference for you. Okay. So I think maybe what's going on is the people that passed this law who decide on this, they're going like, look, man, you probably didn't shoplift like Sam Richards almost shoplifted the bag of coffee, but actually the truth is I almost did that twice. That's why I was really careful about it, because it happened before, because it's so easy. You just put stuff in your cart, you're supposed to, you don't check it every time. It's like, oh man. I don't know does anyone know what I'm talking about? A giant, right? You do that? It's like, God. Okay, bro, second thing. You had a second thing. Wait, hang on. Did you have a second thing really quick?
I had, but time is slow.
All right, okay, go ahead, man.
All right, so coincidentally, last night I was on call with one of my friends from back home, and he was telling me about how one of his friends, who's an international student at the school he goes to, literally just got their visa revoked 3 days ago for an unpaid parking ticket. An unpaid parking ticket.
Okay.
Now, earlier somebody had said that it's not a human right to be in this country, but I believe that human rights don't even take borders into consideration at all.
Yeah.
That being said, if we're thinking that the punishment should fit the crime, like, where do we stand on this situation where a parking ticket can send somebody back home in shame, like we were talking about earlier?
Okay.
When this is kind of their way out.
Okay. All right, here we go. How about that? How many of you have had parking tickets and you didn't even know? You found out later you had a parking ticket? Like, you didn't even know. It's just like, okay, bro, you had a parking ticket? You didn't even know? What's that?
Outside the country.
Yeah? No, yeah, okay. What do you so that's more serious. You don't even know that you have a parking ticket. And it's like you get a parking ticket and you get kicked out. Okay. Yeah. How about somebody else? Who's next? Or Izzy, do you have something on the stream? All right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, no. One thing I wanted to talk about is when we call immigrants guests, they're not just like sitting on our couch eating our food.
Yeah.
No, with these international students, they're people who are paying tuition. They're paying, for food. They're buying things in the United States. They're paying taxes. They are members of our society in all but name.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we bring down the hammer on them for like a parking ticket, like we don't hold our own citizens to that kind of standard. How are we gonna give that to somebody who is contributing actively?
Okay, so there's a question, right? If we're not really holding these standards so high for citizens, like really intense, man. Like if you don't pay the parking ticket, you really get hammered. I actually had a student show up at my office a number of years ago in handcuffs, and he was with the constable or the sheriff, and he came to my office to get some money because he rented. This is back when you had VCR tapes, and he rented a VCR tape and he forgot to take it back, and he just never took it back, and they sent it up to the courts like a year later, and then he shows up in my office in handcuffs. He's like, "Dude, do you have some money, man? I need $100 to get out of these handcuffs." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I gave him $100, and that was it. He just completely forgot about it. So there's an example of a student committing a crime. He was kind of a knucklehead, though, but nonetheless, I got my $100 back. Okay, somebody else. By the way, can we go to that? But I just want to say that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's another point. People are coming here, and you are paying tuition. If you have a job, you're going to pay taxes. You're going to do all sorts of things. So there's a way in which, to set aside and treat people so differently than the citizens is something to think about, whether that's fair or not fair.
There's another thing to talk about with that is, what is the point of deportation? What is the point of immigration? Like when we deport people like students, people who work, we as a society are losing something. We're losing somebody who is giving us a service, who's producing a product, who is doing good.
Yeah, but there are a lot of other people who would want to come here who wouldn't break any laws. So that's the other side. So it's like, well, we'll send them home, we'll deport them, but then we bring back as somebody else who's like going to follow the law and not get a DUI or pay their parking tickets or whatever the case is.
Yeah, but it's also important to note that immigrants commit crimes at a statistically lower rate than
Yeah, for sure.
citizens, so.
No, people have the idea that when you have high immigration rates, you have high crime rates, and we know across the board immigrants tend to commit crimes at much lower rates than citizens. And that's pretty true everywhere, actually. Yeah, including undocumented immigrants, by the way. Well, aside from being undocumented, you're committing a crime just by breathing, I guess. But all right, next one.
Yeah, I was just going to basically highlight that point as well. I didn't really agree with the heavy emphasis that these people are just like guests in America.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like America has always thrived off of immigrants or just people from other countries. Like, whether it's the laptops we use, like that's from exploiting other countries and their resources. And just throughout history, we've always America has been able to climb and reach the level of success where we can sit here and enjoy this nice education because of immigrants. So I don't think it's really a question about like what they did, like is it how bad of a crime it is. It's really just how America treats its immigrants, and overall this is like a really sad story.
Yeah, not only that, but immigrants that historically, including, by the way, all white people in here, if you had your relatives came here from Europe in the late 18th century and early 19th century, immigrants who were exploited for their labor, like really exploited, treated very poorly, and exploited for the labor. So, yeah.
And then another point I wanted to make, kind of going off what the guy in the camo hoodie said, was like, what is the point of deportation? Because in these cases, right, the 22 students, they already were put in this diversionary program. Like, there was some consequence. It's not like they got away with it by saying, oh, don't do it again. Like, they're already in a program that's meant to re-educate them or kind of serve some form of justice to have them contribute to society in a positive manner. So then, if they're already being, for lack of better wording, rehabilitated, what is the point of deporting them? What are you actually achieving by doing that?
Well, does anyone have it? What do you think the administration, the government is doing what are we achieving by doing that? take a perspective of the current administration. What are we achieving by deporting them? Can any of you do that? Do you have an idea?
I'd say it's like weeding out the evildoers to bring in better students is what they might think. Now, do I see it that way? No.
Well, yeah. You could say it. You could say it a little bit different. Anyone want to say it a little bit differently? Not the evildoers, but.
I mean, I think it generally is about like having more like strict like guidelines for immigration.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I do think, just one note on that, I think even if you are going to say, okay, we're going to deport international students that do X, Y, or Z, I think there's like a principle of like transparency that you have to follow. So it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do, but you have to like let people, you're going to do that before you start doing that.
Yeah.
So I think like saying that you're going to deport people and then deporting people is better than just deporting people.
Well, but maybe we're just in this space right now where we're learning quickly. Like other people coming to the U.S. are learning. Oh man, don't break any laws. There's a new sheriff in town, so to speak, right? His name's Donald Trump, and they're moving forward and like, okay, we're going to be really, really strict.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember the conversation we had about Korea, Japan, and China? And remember, like, you go to Korea, you don't eat food on the subway. If you eat food on the subway, a Korean, someone is going to tell you, is very likely to tell you, hey, stop eating food, or report you to the subway police, and the subway police they're not going to arrest you, but they're going to tell you like you can't eat food on the subway. I mean, they're just things. They're rules, man. Just follow the rules. And if you don't know what the rules are, then you're going to learn. But everyone knows you don't shoplift. And come on, everyone knows that. So that's a pretty serious one. Simple one. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think we got to get one thing straight, that is immigrants are the backbone of this country. They make up nearly every job that Americans don't want to do. Like, how many of you want to work in a mushroom farm? I'm from Kennett Square, and they make up about 50% of the population there. How many of you are going to work in a mushroom farm 12 hours a day for minimum wage?
Basically nobody in this room.
Basically nobody. And so they do these really important jobs that we don't give them enough credit for. So let's just get that set from the onset. And the second thing is that we have presumed innocence here. We, under the rules that you laid out, they are not proven guilty. They have not pled guilty. They have not been convicted of a crime, and so they are still presumed innocent, and then being deported anyway.
Well, here's the thing: when you go into a diversion program, you're basically acknowledging, hey, I can take this to trial. I can go all the way, and then I can have my day in court, right? I can do that, or I can just take a little side road right here and say, you know what? I'm just going to apply for this program. So when you apply for the program, in a certain sense, you might be saying, well, I've been charged with this. They said I did it. It doesn't look, even though I didn't do it, it doesn't look very good for me. That it's possible that would be the case. And so I'm just going to take this diversionary program. Okay? Or I could say, no, I'm absolutely not guilty. I'm going to go all the way. Okay, well, that's a different story. But everyone in this case took a diversionary program. So, yeah. So you're kind of, in a way, you're kind of acknowledging, I'm not going to take my chances in a court, right? You're not acknowledging your guilt. You're not standing on your innocence, but you're sort of right there. But nonetheless, you're saying, immigrants make up the country, man. Let's not forget this. Like, there's this war on immigration now, or a serious, maybe not a war, but we're really looking at things very seriously. So, somebody else. Yeah. Do you have somebody from the stream? All right, go ahead. Hang on one second, bro. How strict is the law enforcement for U.S. students and citizens? Do they face similar consequences for, let's say, a parking ticket? No, not at all. I mean, not in this case. You don't at all. Yeah. An unpaid parking ticket. Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
I'd just like to ask the gentleman who suggested that students on student visas deserve a judicial imbalance for the fact that they're here as guests of the country. What would you
Wait, what do you mean by judicial imbalance?
Well, obviously, if you're a citizen, you can get off with a lot of these things with a slap on the wrist. So I'd just like to ask, if you saw someone shoplifting a Snickers bar, what would you do about it?
So wait, so your question is,
if this is such an affrontment to the fabric of our society, if you saw someone shoplifting a Snickers bar, what would you do about it to back up those words?
Okay, so hang on. Before you get to an answer to the question, what you're saying is, you're wondering whether this is really these particular crimes, the DUI thing maybe sets aside for a second, but are these particular crimes really capable of fracturing the solidarity, the fabric of the social system of society, right? Like, are they really, really weakening the structure of American culture, American society? That's fundamentally that's a really good question, and in a way, it's kind of like the question of, you can only police people to the degree to which they want to be policed. You can have a million laws, but like people got to follow the laws. And so what we want are people to follow the rules, people be kind to one another, and we want social solidarity. We want people to work together. We want to not have conflict, and we don't want to have a lot of disorganization in society. So that's why we have laws. We want people to do what they say they're going to do and what we need them to do. So when people do these things, you're asking, are we really weakening the fabric of society when people commit these crimes? And then I would say, well, yeah, when lots of people commit these crimes, when a couple of people do, it doesn't really matter, but when lots of people do, like in this classroom, some of you cheat. Some of you gave the attendance codes to your friends, and you got caught. And so there'd be consequences to that. But if we didn't check on you, if we didn't do a mandatory selfie in here, there would be, and we just allowed you to send the attendance codes to your friends, there would be 100 or 150 less people in the room on a nice day like this, because you'd just be sending the attendance codes to your friends who are on the hub lawn partying or playing hacky sack or whatever people do on the hub lawn. But we don't. And so, but it's not going to really change the class that much, but it has an impact on the class. Yeah. I'm not going to have him answer your question. That's a good question, though, bro. I'm going to tell you, that's a really good question. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Hi. So we're talking about like Penn State students, right? And like we talk about we are and belonging, and like going off of like what we've been saying, like for me, like college is more than just an experience about academics. Like people come here, people make mistakes left and right. If you brought up like statistics on that board of every student who has committed those crimes, it would be a whole lot more than just 22. So like for me, like do you think it's fair that like international students have to tread so lightly? Like they came here, they applied to be here, they're part of the Penn State community. Like do you think the university has like a right to like protect them from the deportation in a way? Or like there's like a lot with that, but like I just like go back to like the like we are saying and like the story of that and how that came about. Like I just think there's a lot there.
Well, let me just say this though.
But I also add on to that, just because you're being deported doesn't mean you're no longer a Penn State student. As I mentioned before, that's why a lot of the students who are deported are going to end up doing world campus or whatnot. So it's not really like Penn State thing. It's more of a legal mandate.
Yeah, there's nothing Penn State can do at this point. But you're right. I mean, there's a community. So for you, when you look around the room and you think, hey, there's a couple students in here who right now, international students, who might find out tomorrow or the next day that they're getting deported because they didn't pay a parking fine or something like that. For you, what you're saying is, hey, no, we're a community here. Like I don't like that. Like that doesn't feel right to me. That feels like too extreme because there is a community thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say I think I just want to say I think it's kind of interesting, almost kind of who has the right to commit crimes. Like we have a president who's been convicted 34 times, who has been what I'm pretty sure is civilly convicted of rape, and who has pardoned the people who were convicted during the January 6th attempted insurrection. And I would say insurrection is, a far more violent and I would say worse crime than shoplifting or possessing marijuana.
Yeah.
And so I just think the differing standards are extremely telling.
Well, so for you, as someone, you look at that and say, yeah, I kind of, it feels like an unfair adjudication of laws in some ways. Okay, I will say, yeah, well, this is the world. Some money and power that goes a long way. Am I right, man? Money and power goes a long way to being able to avoid certain punishments for certain crimes. Hey, I just want to ask a question before I know we got to go. Bro, how many people in here would largely echo what he said? Like, listen, man, it's a crime. You commit a crime. Like, you got to, raise your hands really high. I just want to see how many people would largely echo. That's a fair amount of people. So, listen, wait, keep raising. It's a lot of men. It's like you're all men. It's all men. There's one woman. All right. Dude, the men, what's with men, bro? Is this a man thing? So, by the way, if you're watching the stream, the idea here is that students raise their hand who agree that, you commit a crime, doesn't matter what the crime is, you have an obligation, so you get deported. That's just what it is. That's now the law of the land. Maybe 60 people, 70 people raised their hand, and almost all of them were men. So I just want to say that. All right, y'all. Hey, good conversation. Hey, thanks to the volunteers.